Hello everyone, our story today is about the Hollow of Blackwood Forest, a terrifying story that will make you not be able to sleep. I challenge you to listen to it in full and tell me if you felt scared or not. Put on your headphones and enjoy with us, and do not forget to subscribe to the channel and like if you liked the video. It was a cold night in late October when Amelia and her friends decided to venture into Blackwood Forest. Known for its eerie legends, the forest had been avoided by locals for generations, its reputation for strange disappearances and unexplainable events preceding it. But for Amelia, a lover of the paranormal and all things chilling, the call of the unknown was too strong to resist. Accompanied by her best friend Mark and two other thrill seekers, Rachel and Lucas, they gathered their backpacks, equipped with flashlights, cameras, and a few snacks, ready to make history by being the first group in years to dare to step inside. "Are we really doing this?" Rachel asked, her voice trembling slightly as they stood at the edge of the forest, the trees looming like dark sentinels in the moonlight. "Of course, this will be our greatest adventure yet," Mark said, his voice full of excitement. Amelia, ever the skeptic, shrugged. "Just stay close and remember, we're here for the truth. No running if we get scared." As they entered the forest, the temperature seemed to drop several degrees. The rustling of leaves above them sounded like whispers, but when they looked, they saw no one. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the crunch of their boots on the damp ground. After walking for an hour, they stumbled upon a clearing. At the center, an ancient stone well stood, overgrown with ivy and moss. It seemed out of place, its weathered surface bearing strange markings that none of them recognized. "This must be it," Lucas whispered, pointing at the well. "The place they say the spirits come from." "Don't be ridiculous," Amelia replied, her tone dismissive. "It's just an old well. Let's keep moving." But Mark and Rachel were already edging closer to the well, their curiosity outweighing caution. Amelia reluctantly followed them, and Lucas, ever the troublemaker, took a few photos of the eerie structure. As Rachel peered into the well, her flashlight illuminated something strange. "Guys, I think there's something down there." Amelia stepped forward, peering into the dark void. "It's probably just the reflection of your light." But Rachel's voice trembled. "No, something's moving." Suddenly the air grew heavy. The forest, once silent, was now filled with a low hum, an unsettling vibration that seemed to emanate from the earth itself. The ground beneath them shifted, and a cold wind swept through the clearing, extinguishing their flashlights. Panic surged in Amelia's chest. "Let's go. Now," she ordered, grabbing Mark's arm. But it was too late. A figure emerged from the well, a pale, gaunt shape with hollow eyes that glowed faintly in the dark. Its mouth opened, but no sound came out, only a sickly, dissonant melody that seemed to reverberate in their skulls. The ground trembled, and suddenly they were not alone. Figures began to materialize in the shadows of the trees, humanoid shapes with twisted features, their limbs too long, their movements jerky and unnatural. Mark screamed, "What the hell are those things?" "They're not real. They can't be." Amelia shouted, though her voice faltered as the figures grew closer, their eyes locked on the group. Without thinking, they turned and ran, their footsteps frantic in the dead silence that followed them. But the forest seemed to shift, the trees closing in around them, bending unnaturally, as if they were being drawn deeper into some unseen maw. Rachel tripped and fell behind. "Help!" she cried, reaching out as something cold and clammy brushed against her leg. Amelia tried to turn back, but Mark grabbed her arm, pulling her forward. "We have to keep going," he shouted. But when they looked back, Rachel was gone. A cold chill settled over them as they pushed onward, now with only 3 in the group. The forest was alive, and it was hunting them. Eventually, they found themselves at the edge of the forest, the trees finally giving way to open land. But something was wrong. The sky above them was not the familiar dark of night. It was a deep, blood-red hue, casting an ominous glow over the land. "This isn't right," Lucas muttered, his voice shaking. This isn't the real world anymore. Amelia felt her heart pounding in her chest as she turned to face him. What are you talking about? Then she saw it. The well had followed them. It was now standing at the edge of the clearing, but it was no longer an ancient structure. It was newly built, the stone smooth and clean, as though it had just been constructed. And from it, something began to rise, an enormous, writhing mass of shadow and tendrils reaching out to ensnare them. The figures in the trees had gathered around it, their twisted forms now fully visible, their eyes glowing bright as they closed in. "Run!" Mark screamed, but the tendrils were too fast. They shot forward, wrapping around their limbs, pulling them back toward the well. Amelia fought with all her strength, but it was no use. The shadows were too strong, their grip suffocating. Just as the tendrils tightened around her chest, she felt a sudden, sharp pain in her head, like something was being pulled from her mind. The last thing she saw before everything went black was the twisted, grinning face of the figure that had risen from the well. The next morning, the forest was silent once again. No trace remained of the group of adventurers who had dared to venture into Blackwood Forest. But the locals knew better than to speak of it. The forest had claimed 4 souls that night, and the whispers in the wind told of new figures, shadowed and hollow-eyed, waiting at the edge of the trees for the next curious wanderers. And the well, they say, still stands in the center of the clearing, waiting, as it always does, for the next souls brave enough to seek it out. But be warned, Blackwood Forest doesn't just take your body, it takes your very essence, leaving nothing but hollow shells of those who dare to uncover its dark secrets.